Welcome to a brand new edition of the ODPH podcast. My name is Ken M, and if you're a regular listener to the show, you know that we're coming in kind of with a cold opening because unfortunately tragedy struck the ODPH 607 podcast family this past weekend. Ross Marchuka, who is the drummer of Shout at the Robots, and passed away at the age of 33 from natural causes, and he and the rest of the band have always been huge supporters of everything we do here at the ODPH. And on behalf of Pat and myself, our hearts and condolences go out to Julian, John, Matt, and everybody of Ross's family and friends. If you ever got the chance to meet Ross, just always a big smile, big energy wherever we met him. I mean, I remember when we were doing the 607 podcast launch party down at Galaxy.
Yep.
And the minute he came running in the door, he just gave me this big bear hug out of nowhere. And we wound up talking for, God, it felt like forever talking Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Ross is just always a big fan of that. And no matter where we saw him out to, just always that same energy, always just so charismatic and always just, so friendly and just talk to everybody. And to say, try and even put into words too. Like I've been trying to figure out what to really kind of say here, and I'm just doing this live and whatever's coming to the head here, because he is just one of those people you meet in your life that just leave that impact on you, and just you always have just the big memories, no matter how far in time we've talked and such. And we just wanted to kind of do a quick moment of silence to honor him, and just give our condolences out once again. And I know he's probably up in heaven doing some skateboarding, doing some drumming, obviously.
He's having a wicked jam session. I know that.
Yeah, he's just bestowing some amazing energy out to everybody up there. But I know we're going to feel the loss down here. So like we say, just give a quick moment of silence. Rest in peace, Ross. You will truly be missed. So we have a lot to get into for talking about the show. It's a fusion edition of the ODPH. Schedules have been a little crazy, so so for the one only Padawan, Jay, the statistician to the stars, the co-host, we've been trying to balance everything out. But off air, it's been a little hectic.
I'll say, to quote Jeff Goldblum, life finds a way.
Yes, it does. So we are definitely going to throw you the parlay of topics that we only do here at the ODPH, and we definitely like to keep those conversations rolling after the show. So, Pat, where's everybody going?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Social media links, TeePublic Store, Classified section, which has friends of the show, such as 3FM Podcast, Nerd Initiative, and Dragon Master Games, amongst many more. The blog section, the directory. Pat, how many providers are we on?
52,833.
Sounds about right to me, so I don't question, because he is a statistician to the stars for a reason. And who's your source?
Trust me, bro.
Also, a fantastic music section, which you can go listen to all the great music that you hear on the ODPH from Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, and of course, Shout at the Robots. And if it's anything and everything else that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. And if you're using hashtags, well, why not use the hashtag ODPHpod? Kicking off this fusion edition of the show, we are going to dabble in the world of pro wrestling, because there is a very, very big event happening this weekend.
Oh, baby.
In the world of the WWE. And, Pat, what are we talking?
We are talking Elimination Chamber, emanating this Saturday from the Rogers Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And if you're sitting there going, wait a minute, Rogers Centre, isn't that where the Toronto Blue Jays play? You're absolutely correct, folks. So we got a baseball stadium for a WWE PLE.
Well, we have to kind of put this into context. This is the final stop as far as PLEs go before WrestleMania.
Yep. For the main roster, yes.
Yes, for the main roster. NXT is going to be doing Stand and Deliver, Roadblock down in MSG in March.
Oh, good Lord.
They have some events going on.
That card.
Yeah, which we can dabble in a little bit. But for where we're going with the main roster WWE, this is going to solidify the main events involving the champions of both Raw and SmackDown, because the winners coming out of the Elimination Chamber matches are going to be facing the champions at WrestleMania that have not already declared. We already know that Jey Uso has declared he's going to fight Gunther. Charlotte Flair, who won the Royal Rumble with Jey as well, is going to be taking on Tiffany Stratton. So this is going to decide who's going to be facing Rhea Ripley and Cody Rhodes at the granddaddy of them all in April in Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's April 19th and 20th.
Yes. So there's a lot of high stakes involving this card. The drama's been building up on the shows for quite some time.
Yeah.
So we're going to dabble into a breakdown of what's happening. So, Pat, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so the first match we're going to talk about on the card is an unsanctioned match taking place between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
This is the ultimate fight forever.
Uh-huh.
If you're new to WWE, Kevin and Sami have had a long historic history of fighting each other.
Yep.
When it's all said and done, they might have arguably the greatest rivalry of all of pro wrestling as far as the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about how many times that they have been partners and they're as close as family, and then when they fight like
Lord have mercy.
nobody else.
The PWG days.
Yeah, like I say, like nobody else. So to go on the indies, you can definitely find stuff Ring of Honor, PWG, like Pat alluded to. Like I say, there has been a legacy left there. And even WWE, they've had their moments. But this one being an unsanctioned match, I'm expecting fireworks. I'm expecting them to go all out. I would say I think this is going to be Kevin Owens, though.
I think it will be too, and it's kind of ironic just because Kevin Owens has been interesting in this entire storyline he's been doing, because he had the match against Cody Rhodes back at Saturday Night Main Event in late last year. It wasn't the one this year. It was the one end of last year, the first one when it returned. And he got all angry because, I had Cody pinned. You know, the crowd counted to like 15 or 20 or whatever it was, and you didn't get it. I got screwed by the ref. Well, dude, you got screwed by the ref because you shoved him. You shoved Cody, who bumped into the ref, and the ref got knocked out of the ring in the classic ref bump shtick. You know, so he wanted a rematch, and then he got it, and then he got his rematch, and you know he didn't win that one. But then he got all angry at Sami Zayn because Sami didn't come out and protect him. You know, you're supposed to be my friend. You're defending Cody. You're not defending me. Well, dude, he did defend you. You were just, quote unquote, air quotes, unconscious on the table because, you know, it was fairly deep into the match at that point. And he checked on you. But you know what is what it is. If you've ever seen their matches on PWG, especially ladder matches, you have an idea how this is going to go. Those of you with weak constitutions might not want to watch. Because, hey, this is essentially a no-holds-barred match. You know, this is a falls count anywhere match. This is a street fight. This is a pick whatever stipulation short of, you know, a multi-man tag match, you know, or fatal four-way or fatal five-way, like whatever you want to pick. You know, it's not one of those. So this is going to be hellacious. This is going to be painful. I fully expect this to open up the show just because this is really going to set the tone and get the crowd going for the night. But I ultimately think at the end of the day, Kevin's lost, you know, the last couple of major PLE, you know, special event matches he's had, and I feel like he's about due for one.
Well, I think he's going to win. I don't think this will open the show. I think they're going to open with the women's Elimination Chamber match.
That would make sense.
But I'll get into it when we go in there about this. Okay. I think that this is actually going to be in the middle of the card.
Okay.
I think they're going to give it enough time to really tell their story. I'm going to say Kevin's going to win, but I also think Randy Orton comes back. Sets up their match for WrestleMania.
Could be. I'd be all right with that. Next up is a tag team match with Nia Jax teaming with Candice LeRae, going up against Tiffany Stratton and Canada's own Trish Stratus.
So this one I think is going to be second on the card.
Yeah, that I would figure.
And I think they've done a great job about building the storyline a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tiffany turning on Nia has been a lot of drama taking place. And I think this is just going to be a nice, fun storyline filler that maybe, just maybe, Charlotte Flair is going to come out and confront Tiffany during this.
Could try to screw her out of a win in the match.
It could definitely happen. I would not doubt maybe even we see a little face-off between Charlotte and Trish just to tease something for the future.
I'm all right with that.
Just something for the future because obviously I think it's going to be really focused on Tiffany and what happens here. I think Trish and Tiffany win.
Yeah, I do too.
I think this is going to be a really good match. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun. Listen, I'm just happy Candice LeRae is on a pay-per-view card. Listen, I'm not like she's not my favorite female wrestler of all time, but she's up there, and the fact she's on a match on the card, I'm happy.
I'm happy in her new storyline with Nia. I think that's really got some potential. They just let it go.
Next up is the Women's Elimination Chamber match. And of course, this is for an opportunity to take on Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 41. And the participants are Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez.
So this one is a very loaded card.
It's very also wide open. I can see any of these participants winning.
Well, I will kind of break it down like this. I don't think Liv is going to win because I don't think everybody wants to see Liv versus Rhea.
Yeah, please no.
No, I think
we've been doing that for the last year.
We need a break from that. Alexa Bliss is just coming back.
Yeah.
And that does have potential if they want to go that route. That is a box office match for WrestleMania. However, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Bayley is kind of in that same lane.
Okay.
That Bayley is always in kind of in the same sense of Kevin Owens is always in that position.
Sure.
That you could put her in a title program and it'll still be box office.
Sure.
Then Roxanne Perez, too much too soon. I don't think that's going to happen yet with her getting to WrestleMania, even though I think she will be one of the two last wrestlers standing in this match.
Yeah.
Then you have Bianca and Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I think Jade Cargill comes back to confront the winner, and that'll be the person who attacked her.
Okay.
And that's Bianca Belair.
Okay.
I think Bianca goes heel.
Okay.
And I think she costs Naomi the match or something happens here.
I'd be all right with that.
And I think that this is where Jade comes out to confront her at the end and they can have a little program in between.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this will disrupt too much per se.
I could see the Bianca, Naomi, Jade thing happening because there was that moment on Monday Night Raw. Was it this week or last week? I can't remember which. Where they showed up to Monday Night Raw to confront Liv and Raquel Rodriguez because they had seen the quote-unquote footage. I think it was actually just an image on SmackDown prior.
It was a still.
It was, okay, so it was the still image of, the backs of Liv and Raquel leaving the scene of the quote-unquote crime that took out Jade. And they went to Monday Night Raw to confront her. But they left it kind of open-ended that, like, Liv and Raquel never admitted to it, but they also never denied it. So, I could very easily see that, your whole theory and I guess prediction being the case. And I'd be on board with that. That'd be exciting to see. I'm with you. If I had to rank all of these women and who I would like to see, least to most, Liv Morgan's absolutely at the bottom. Listen, it's nothing against Liv.
No,
I don't hate her.
Right.
I'm not shitting on her. It's just, we've seen the storyline of her chasing Rhea, then Rhea chasing her. Injuries, come back from injuries, this, that, the other. Like, it's been from one point of the globe to the other point of the globe. I'm a little bored of it. You can only eat, cheeseburgers so many days in a row before you get bored of them. It's just one of those things.
I beg to differ, but okay.
True. I agree with you on Alexa. She's coming back. We're not quite sure what she's doing in terms of, is she going to be some new form of the quote unquote goddess? Is she going to go back to, what she was doing with Bray Wyatt prior to his unfortunate passing? Don't know. I could see Bayley doing it. I could see Bayley, getting it and being, going on this whole thing of like, listen, I don't get the respect I deserve. Everyone kind of overlooks me. I'm the least remembered of the four horsewomen. When you mention the four horsewomen, everyone mentions me last. Look at everything everyone else has done. So I can kind of see them going that way where she's not exactly a heel, but she's not exactly a face either. Kind of that in between. So I could see Bayley doing it. Naomi, I listen, again, nothing against her. I just don't see it happening. I would love to see Roxanne do this meteoric rise she's on because they've really been hyping her up, ever since the Elimination Chamber, the Royal Rumble. But I just, ultimately at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be the case. So I think it's just by process of elimination. I'm going to say Bayley.
Okay. No, that's completely fair. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they can go with it.
Sure.
I mean, especially if they want to do Bianca versus Jade at Mania. Bayley is a very solid opponent. That's the one thing about this that I really like is the field is more or less wide open. I think the only one we can say safely will not win is Liv Morgan.
Right.
And nothing against her, but we've already seen that program for the better half of a year and a half now.
Right, and you got to figure there's at least two members in this match that are looking to stop that.
Yeah.
You got to figure that there's at least a third, Jade, depending on which way they go with the story and if she comes back, if she confront. Like, if it does end up being that Liv and Raquel did attack Jade. I could see her, I could say, let's just say Liv is one of the final two, and much like they did, what was it, in Australia last year, where the one person slipped in the ring during the I think it was Logan Paul, slipped in the Elimination Chamber when somebody was leaving after they got eliminated. I could see Jade doing one of those type of deals and attacking Liv and costing Liv. So, I just don't see Liv doing it, but it's a wide open field.
Yeah, it definitely is.
One we should mention before we get to what's going to be the main event is it was announced on the last episode of SmackDown, which took place this Friday. We had a return of a certain board member of TKO, certain final boss.
Yeah.
This man and his goddamn entrance music. Can we just talk about that for a second? And this thing changes more than a person changes underwear. It's kind of ridiculous. But came out, to make an announcement, and as had been the rumor for at least a day. It wasn't super long. It was at least a day, maybe that same day. That would be that WrestleMania 42 would be taking place in New Orleans, Louisiana, for the third time in like 10 years. Kind of wild to think about. Taking place Saturday, April 11th and 12th in the Caesars Superdome. But came out, made that announcement, and then that same night, Cody was supposed to be in a triple threat, it was supposed to be in a tag match later that night. Was pulled out of that match by the Rock, and Rock came out to confront him and talk to him, and I'm sure you've all seen the clip online. He changed heel and face more times than Big Show did in his entire career that night.
Mm-hmm.
Proved me wrong, and basically made an offer to Cody, like, hey, I want you to be my champion. I can open doors for you. I can give you all these opportunities. All you need to do is just to go with me, but I don't need your answer now. I'm going to meet you next Saturday at the Elimination Chamber in Toronto, Canada. That's where you're going to give me your answer. And he left the ring.
Yeah.
Confusing as fuck? Yes. Obnoxious as fuck? Yes.
See, I still don't get where they're going with it, other than it's going to... Well, go with it.
I think they're going to do much like Stone Cold did with WrestleMania, what was that, 17? Where he turned heel, and shook Vince's hand. I think he's going to do much like Seth Rollins did, after that pay-per-view with John Moxley, now Dean Ambrose, then, and Roman Reigns put a chair in their back. I think he's trying to get Cody to sell out, or in some people's opinion, buy in.
Well, I think the question is going to be if they want to turn Cody heel. And it really depends on how they want to play this, but I think a lot of it is going to have to deal with who wins the men's Elimination Chamber as well.
Sure.
I could see Cody denying it for a while, and then at the big show, he will turn heel.
Sure.
Which, at this stage, it makes a lot of sense for him to do.
Sure.
He's ran the course with the storyline, with the bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
And now, that's kind of in a weird spot, too. But I think in this kind of situation, the Rock is trying to weasel his way back into the situation, kind of tease that maybe he'd be involved at WrestleMania, maybe he'd be doing something.
I don't think he would be, just because he got announced for that Martin Scorsese movie.
Right, that's the whole thing. It just depends on when filming's doing and all that,
right.
All that XYZ.
Right.
So I don't necessarily know, but I think that he's just planting a lot of breadcrumbs.
Oh, sure.
And I think that that's what's going to really tie into, because I think maybe he does select a champion if Cody says no.
Could be.
And I think we might see that depending on who wins the men's Royal Rumble. So I'm going to kind of say, I'll tie it in with who I think is winning.
So the men's Elimination Chamber match, and again, this is for an opportunity to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. You've got John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth freaking Rollins. Thing I should say real quick, because it occurred to me. The women's Elimination Chamber match is right now for Rhea Ripley. She does have a championship match against Io Sky this upcoming Monday. Mm-hmm. So barring some sort of change, could be Io Sky. We'll see.
But this one is arguably anybody's field.
Yes.
Even Logan Paul.
Yeah, much as the state of Ohio loves him.
I'm just saying this. If they put him there, I don't think this would be the time. However, if they did,
it'd be ballsy.
But he does perform in the ring. Whether you love him or hate him, he does perform.
Say what you will about him as a human being.
Yes.
At least when I look at him as a performer, he's very good.
Right. But in this situation, you have to take a look at the rest of the field. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre.
Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I mean, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins. I think they ultimately take each other out in a three-way dance at Mania. So I'm going to rule them all out right now. So that leaves you with Damian Priest, who would be an interesting matchup for Cody.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think they'll do that just yet.
Okay.
I think that Damian's now finally broken away from the Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank God.
Oh, yeah, completely. And I think they're really going to try pushing him as a main event star.
Sure.
It just depends if they really want to override something. But I think the key factor here is John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I think you'll see John Cena win.
Okay.
Because he takes the Rock's deal. That he is like, my soul belongs to WWE. That you remember the promo, I want to say promo, but it was more of a statement press release.
After the Rumble, yeah.
Yeah, where that came off a little more heelish than not.
Yeah.
Well, if he wants to go out on his final tour.
If he wants to guarantee being a champion.
Yeah. This is the way to do it.
And what if people wanted it for the entirety of John Cena's career?
Go heel.
Yeah, well, you got one opportunity to do it. This would be a hell of a way to do it.
Right, but
I got to admit, I didn't think of that.
Well, yeah, because he wins, and let's just say something happens. That I don't want to say shenanigans, but let's say
The Rock's going to be there. There's going to be shenanigans.
Right, but because like I say, if he turns Cody down,
right,
let's say he does. Well, The Rock comes over and offers it to Cena, and you could kind of see maybe he buys in, and he says, "Look."
I could also see Drew McIntyre taking him up on that.
Well, Drew would make sense too.
You know, Drew will try and sell it as listen, I'm not fully buying into what you're doing, but I'm willing to work with you.
Well, I think the point is The Rock is wanting to build a corporate champion, and I think out of the playing field, Drew makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
There's storyline you can do there. It doesn't make a lot of sense with Punk.
No.
Especially their history, that just wouldn't go.
Punk is a corporate champion? What?
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
I got a pipe bomb for you if you believe that.
Oh, yeah. But I think as long with the rest of the field, I think with John Cena, that makes a ton of sense. And I think nobody would see it coming because if that guarantees his shot at Mania. Now, granted, you can read the temp in the room with the crowd from now until then.
Right.
And then let's say it's not working, fans are booing, X,
much
Y,
like
and Z.
last year.
Yeah. You can always pull the audible and switch it up at Mania where Cody does work with The Rock.
Sure.
And then John Cena is back to being a face and chasing after the belt. And you could do stuff like that. So I'm just going to say for this, though, win, lose, or draw, this is John Cena.
Absolutely.
Because John Cena versus Cody Rhodes is
it's his last WrestleMania he's wrestling in.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me he ain't going to main event? Stop.
Exactly.
Stop.
Like, you can say it any other way.
Main event, night 2, book it.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no question about that. They're going to lock that in. You'll have the triple threat between Punk, Rollins, and Drew.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Damian Priest, I don't know where he goes, but it doesn't matter because they'll find a great landing spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's not rule out the idea of if they want to do a cross-brand thing, he could face Braun Breaker.
Yeah,
if you want to do something there.
I mean, there have been rumors and reports lately that they're looking at a triple threat of some sort for the Intercontinental Championship, which they've been more likely to do lately than not.
Right.
So you could do that.
They could definitely do that. I mean, I could see him also doing a U.S. title thing if he wanted to.
Ooh, you know what would be a good one for the IC title? Miz, always in the IC title hunt. Breaker, Damian.
Well, I would just say this, but this is me in thinking outside the box. I just say make it a ladder match, three from SmackDown, 3 from Raw, and just let them go crazy.
Some of those ladder IC matches in Mania history are phenomenal.
Exactly.
Oh, the one from 32, enough said.
Yeah, unless they're doing that with the tag team titles.
The one from 31, enough said.
Yeah. But unless, like I say, that the only thing that would curveball that is the tag team titles.
Yeah. Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Because I think we're going there with that. But if they want to do some kind of crazy stipulation.
Just please let DIY hold the belt until Mania.
Yeah, I was hoping the crowd gets more into it, though. That's the only thing that worries me.
Well, if you played Chrome Hearts, it'd be a lot easier.
Greatest theme song ever, folks.
Facts.
So that said, the Elimination Chamber is this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of storylines going on leading into it. NXT is on fire right now with the crossover with TNA.
Yes. Santino Marella getting the biggest pop of the night on NXT last night.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you're seeing a lot of that crossover appeal happen. And they did announce about NXT Roadblock at Madison Square, the theater at Madison Square Garden. So I do have to correct you, Pat. Or say when you asked me about that, no,
Oh, okay.
it's going to be in the theater. So it's going to be a more intimate setting than people realize, but it's still going to be, they will pack that out.
Listen, this thing's going to be packed already because the 3 matches they have announced for this card, and again, this is taking place on March 11th at the theater at Madison Square Garden in New York City, New York. We got 3 matches for this, but Christ almighty, this is enough for a card already.
Oh, yeah.
In a winner-takes-all match, you've got NXT Women's Champion Julia taking on a North American Champion Stephanie Vaquer. Fucking, that's a WrestleMania match if I ever saw one.
Yeah, I'm not even making a prediction about that yet.
And then in a tag team match for the TNA World Tag Team Championship, you've got TNA champs, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Good Lord.
Asterisks by that, though.
Okay.
That's for the TNA titles?
Yeah.
So Fraxium is losing.
Yeah, more than likely.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Although, hey, you never know. WWE seems to be more open to this partnership being beneficial both ways than AEW was. So
Well,
you never know.
If you want to make them the belt collectors, I think that would fire up the internet more so than not.
Yeah, it would.
So I would say, like, I enjoy that kind of chaos, so I'm okay with that. I just don't think so. I think the fact that they made it specifically for the TNA titles, I think they tipped our hand.
Could be. And then this is your main event. This is already my fucking match of the year candidate. Singles match for the NXT Championship. You've got Obafemi defending his belt against Moose. Reinforce everything.
Yeah, this is going to be a match.
This is going to be hard-hitting. It's going to be amazing.
This is going to be a match of the year contender.
Oh, my God.
No question about this. No question. That's the only 3 that we know right now.
That's the only 3.
They'll be adding more as it goes on, but like I say, WWE is really kicking into high gear with Elimination Chamber, and there'll be a lot of fallout coming from that this weekend.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to make sure that you're tuned in, and let's talk about it on the social media, shall we? Hit us up on the hashtag ODPH pod. What is your predictions for WWE's Elimination Chamber this weekend? And if you want more wrestling content, and I have to kind of disclose about something that's going on too as well. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Wrestling Night Live. Rich and Nick will be taking the reins and giving you all the breakdowns of what's going on with WWE, AEW, GCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling. I, unfortunately, will not be there for a little while. I have a new opportunity with Nerd Initiative that is going to be taking a lot of time and focus, and it was with a heavy heart that I have to take a little bit of a hiatus from the show. So rest assured, though, they will be coming with the hot takes that you know and love. So you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button on Nerd Initiative YouTube, set the bell notification for the reminders, and tap the thumbs up to let the boss know that you love what they're doing, because they're doing a lot of great things over there. So you definitely want to go support that. Talk that wrestling with them, talk it with us, and let's all talk some wrestling on social media, shall we? That all said, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you like comic books?
What about movies and TV shows?
Well, we may be the show for you.
We're Hops Geek News, a weekly podcast that discusses comics, movies, and TV shows while featuring a beer of the week.
Every week we chat about what we messed up on the week before, and then we dive into what we're reading and watching, as well as some news.
We then wrap it up with a geek-themed topic of the week.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Hops Geek News.
Cheers.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to recap the final episodes of Marvel Animation's Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Season 1, yes.
Yes, Season 1 is in the books. Hudson
Season
Thames.
2 coming soon. Season 3 already announced.
Yep.
Good Lord.
Hudson Thames is the voice of Peter Parker for this episode, and it is an original take, blending in a lot of modern themes into the classic high school story of Peter Parker. There are a lot of Marvel Easter eggs with this show, and the animation is straight out of Steve Ditko playbook. Like it's something very fresh going on here with this. Like I say, a little bit of Steve Ditko, a little of John Romita Jr. or Senior, I should say Senior. So this one has definitely won us over. I love a lot of the things they've done with this show. And obviously, if Coleman Domingo voicing Norman Osborn, you have my attention. Like I say, he is a fantastic actor. So the fact that he is now running crazy as Norman Osborn, take my money now. So we are going to be talking about the final 2 episodes of season 1 entitled Hero or Menace and If This Be My Destiny. So if you're new to the ODPH, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. Leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. What we like to do is give you a spoiler-free statement of what we're talking about. Then we give you a countdown. At said point, you either jump out to pause the episode, watch, and then jump back in, or you stay through the countdown, after said which all bets are off. We talk spoilers, we talk theories, we talk anything that comes to mind with it. So if you're worried about getting spoiled, you have been fair warned. That being said, Pad, give me your thoughts on the final 2 episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1.
Fantastic final 2 episodes. I hate that we have to wait an indeterminate amount of time. I know they're talking like an annual release, like a yearly release for this show, but until they say something and until I see an actual physical date, I'll believe it when I see it. But I hate that we have to wait, an undetermined length of time for season 2, just because with how good this show was. And, I looked it up. This was the 11th iteration of Spider-Man in animation. Going back to this, you had some in the 60s, 80s. Of course, you had the with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. You had the classic Fox Kids show, Spider-Man in the 90s. Spider-Man Unlimited, Spectacular Spider-Man. From Greg Weisman on CW and Disney XD. Ultimate Spider-Man. The Spidey and His Amazing Friends. This was the 11th iteration of Spider-Man in animation form, and I gotta say, I was very skeptical just because, a lot of those series I hold in high regard. The Fox Kids one in the 90s, was top of the list. I love, to a certain old school vibe, reminded me of Saturday mornings, Spider-Man His Amazing Friends, because I saw that obviously later when they re-aired that on some television networks. And I really grew to love Ultimate Spider-Man when that came out, just because that was what I wanted the movies to be like. Because at that point, that one came out in the early 2010s, 2012 through 2017 specifically. So that was back when, only Sony had the rights and they weren't playing ball and whatever else. But that was one that, Ultimate Spider-Man, you had him. Nova was on there. Luke Cage was on there. You had all these other heroes running through. Captain America showed up for a couple episodes. Iron Man showed up for a couple episodes. It was like, this is what I want the movies to be. So I got really high on that one. But this one, easily top 3. Favorite animated series, and I just love these final 2 episodes.
Anytime you can capture the essence of teenage Peter Parker, you really emphasize about what makes him a great superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what this show has done is they've tapped into that classic Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, John Romita Sr. era, like I alluded to a little bit.
Right.
But they've really given this cool modern twist to it. And I think for these final 2 episodes, I'm intrigued by where they went.
Okay.
The finale I thought was okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't in love with it as much as I was episode 9.
Right.
So that said, I am excited to see where they're going in the future because they took a couple chances that I think one could either really be good or really fail badly.
Okay.
But I think the other one is an ingenious take on a classic Spider-Man villain. And this entire season, we've watched that tragic evolution of that character.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they're going in that direction, I think, is really cool. Because we've never seen that kind of interpretation.
Right.
So when you do something new like that gains my attention as a viewer. Albeit, though, there's a couple things that they did that, like I say, either are going to be real hit or real miss.
Right.
And I'm waiting to see how it plays out. I'm being very patient with the show.
Sure.
But I love the fact that they took some deep dives into the comics universe.
Yeah.
Brought them to this show. I'm not sure how a couple are going to work.
Okay.
But I'm along for the ride. They've won my trust enough that I will come back to see this again.
The other thing I think they did very well with this show is they handled the quote-unquote origin very well because, let's face it, when it came time from Sony doing things exclusively to then they were working with Kevin Feige at the powers at Marvel, Kevin Feige said, and you can go back and look this up online, we don't need to do the origin again. Everyone knows it at this point, because and that's true. It's been told how many times in comics. We've seen it in video games. Not necessarily animated shows because it's a little not kid friendly for animation shows, especially on Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen it animated. We saw it live action twice. It's one that everyone is familiar with. It's probably one of, if not the most well-known origin stories in comics history. You can certainly have that debate.
Yeah.
So when it came time for this and I started seeing trailers, I'm like, oh, this is year one Spider-Man, at least for this universe. I wonder how they're going to do this. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there thinking like the bullet points of the origin story. And I'm like, man, I hope we don't have to sit through some of this again because I've seen it twice already, on the big screen. I don't need to see it on the small screen, for a third time. They handled it wonderfully.
They definitely did. There's a lot to discuss with that, so let's get into that spoiler talk. So, Pat, in 3, 2, 1, let's talk about it.
Yeah, like I said, these final 2 episodes, great final episodes, sets up a lot for season 2. And in some instances, I would be surprised if they don't do like some sort of spin-off show. Just because there's so much going on with this that if they end up doing another 10 episodes for season 2, I don't know how you're going to get it all in 10 episodes.
See, the only thing, I agree with you to that extent, but at the same point, I think keeping it centered around Peter,
Sure,
and the eventual showdown with Lonnie Lincoln and the ingenious build to make him a tragic villain.
can't believe they made me sympathize.
That's the thing. That's been the biggest strength of the show. The fact that Eugene Bird's take of Lonnie Lincoln, a.k.a. Tombstone, and seeing the slow build and the tragic fall of his character has been must-watch TV. And to see how it plays out, that's where I'm saying, like, I love the direction they're going because that eventual showdown's coming.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. It might not happen in season 2. If they go season 3, lock it in. But for where they're going, I think it makes sense. I only think they misfired on a couple things.
Okay.
And I'll get into it when we talk about the finale because that's where I thought they really went. I don't want to say they really took a 180, but I think anytime you dabble with blood samples and what I'm assuming is cloning,
Right.
Take my Ben Reilly anger away. Like I say, the anger is justified for that story, but like I say, anytime you dabble with that on the show,
Right.
I really kind of have some pause with.
Sure.
And I think that's where I'm waiting to see how this plays out for that.
Okay.
Because where we jump in episode 9 is obviously Norman Osborn is working with Peter Parker to make him the best superhero he can, even though they're starting to tease about the ulterior motives going on. Dr. Octavius is now a weapons dealer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a wild thing.
Reasons.
But he's one of Oscorp's former scientists. So, like I say, there's a little bit of history between him and Norman.
Rocking that classic look from the comics.
Oh, exactly.
Oh.
I love seeing this. So
They made a lot of design choices in this show.
Yeah.
That one, top of my list.
So where this episode kicks off is Norman goes to see Otto in prison because Otto was arrested and taken down by Iron Man.
Yep.
Which was a very cool cameo.
Yeah, it was.
And they started saying basically about, Norman and him obviously have got some old wounds to heal.
Yeah, and no matter what iteration it is, no matter what universe it is, Norman cannot help but rub it in Otto's face.
Well, there's just
That's friendly competition.
the one-upsmanship.
Friendly with air quotes.
Yeah, exactly. So they're talking about how the technology is being
Now mine.
Yeah, like I say, it's kind of crazy to think about how this plays in, and especially about like Norman was saying, yeah, I'm the one who took you down.
Yeah.
And yeah, your technology belongs to me. Like it's just it's that slow burn turn that we've been waiting to see happen. Because obviously, if you know Spider-Man lore, Norman Osborn's just poised to take down Peter and anybody else in his way. Yeah. Albeit though, Peter is more in tune to get involved with Lonnie's story because the 110th Street Gang's attempt to steal the technology is where things get really, really crazy.
Well, and at this point, we should note Lonnie's running the 110th Street Gang.
He's now solidified,
or at least a faction of it.
Well, he's now come up in the seduction of power of running this group.
Right.
Because let's face it, he didn't want to.
Yep.
He got involved.
He did it to save his brother.
Right. But then he started falling in love with becoming that character. That he, for whatever reason, he fell in love with the business at hand and running this gang.
Yeah, I mean, because he already had fellowship. He already had brothership, whatever you want to call it. He was on the football team.
Yeah.
Star player.
Star player.
Quarterback. You know, the brotherhood that is the football. You know, you hear it all the time in the National Football League. Oh, it's a brotherhood. You know, he already had that. He already had, you know, the connections and friends and this and that and the other. But there, you know what? There was just something about him. Maybe it's in his character. Maybe it's in his nature. You know, who knows? But, the pull was too strong.
Well, I think that's the whole thing. As you see the course of how he gets inducted into the gang and how he more or less takes it over.
Mm-hmm.
It's the tragic fall because you know he'd never wanted to do this.
Yeah.
But here he is, and now his life has taken a detour. And it's now put him right in front of Matt Gargan.
Yeah.
Who is running the Scorpion gang.
Uh-huh.
And when they have a big meeting of the mind, so to speak, if you will.
Yeah.
Big Donovan, who is supposed to be the head of the 110th Street gang, runs away.
Yep.
So he's not really built for this life. Even though he's unfortunately brought Lonnie into it,
Yeah.
he's not backing up what he's saying.
Well, I mean, I can't fault the guy. You know, you face death especially with Scorpion, at least twice I can think of.
Right.
You know, when you're staring that tail down, I can understand running away.
Well, in this situation, though, he's supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the one,
Right.
and you turn tail and run. So while this is happening, they're having a big fight in the street. Spider-Man's fighting Scorpion. Lonnie winds up going into the stolen technology van.
Mm-hmm. It's the thing that's being transported.
And he's looking for something to use. And while this happens, a gas is going off in the car.
Yep.
And while this is happening, you see that Lonnie is now kind of being a little more super powered, so to speak. He tries going to help Peter. He's thrown away. He's buried under a broken building there with some rubble. And when Peter is trying to, he's using his rage now, which Norman is kind of encouraging.
Yeah.
But then when he does this, he gets sloppy because he realizes he's almost at the edge because he starts beating on Gargan very badly.
Isn't there also one point in this fight where Gargan goes to use his tail at Lonnie and it hits his chest or his forehead and it breaks, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that's kind of where they realize that something's
Yeah.
with the power because when he comes out of here, that's when Lonnie emerges and he winds up, being the one to stop Peter.
Yep.
Because he winds up smashing the tail.
Yeah.
Because it tries stabbing him there, and then that's when there's something up with the power.
Yep.
So this is where the dynamic between Peter and Lonnie is so this is gonna be what breaks the show.
They've almost set it up. No, there's no almost. They did. They set it up in a way that you think back to the Batman and Two-Face.
Yeah.
Set up where Batman. Not in this instance, Peter's not directly responsible for what happened to Lonnie. But he knows him. He has a friendship with him that they were classmates and, they became friendly with each other over the course of a couple weeks or however much time has passed during the season. Mm-hmm. They were lab partners and whatever else. And he hates what he's seen happen to him and he wants to rescue him. But you can't exactly rescue a guy who doesn't want rescuing.
Right. But this is where the tragic guilt of Spider-Man is going to come so much into play.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he can't save him.
Yep.
That's going to be the when they do that moment and the full turn happens.
Yep.
Oh, that's going to be must-watch TV. But like I say, what Thames and Bird are doing with their characters, you see that bond and you see that friendship that Lonnie's trying to save Peter from going his route.
Yeah.
To think about it, because Lonnie has now crossed that line.
And Lonnie's crossed that line. He's not fully there. He's not fully there though, at least in the sense of there's a point, I can't remember if it's this episode, next episode, but where he's on the phone with his mother or grandmother, whoever it is. And he's still playing the innocent, oh no, I'm out studying. I'm working on getting my GED. Yeah, I'll be home for dinner. He's fully invested in what he's doing on the business side of things, but he's still trying to keep that other side of his life, that other side of his personality with, the family side, the star quarterback side going.
Mm-hmm. But so, like I say, his character, he's the star of the show, in my opinion.
For this season, yes.
Yeah, more than Peter.
Yeah.
In all honesty, more than Peter.
Yeah.
I think that Lonnie's story is so compelling that's what's really giving life to the show. And I think that doing this different take on him is really making some people so sympathetic for what's going to happen that the character. But then when you see the character in the comics, we just saw him in Gang War.
Right.
And the Fallout story after that, you're like, how could this be the same person?
Right.
But that's the beauty of doing shows like this. You have that alternate reality, alternate version. and it works.
Yeah.
So after Gargan is stopped,
Yep.
Peter is kind of taking his victory lap. Nico, who is his friend on the show, and her character, obviously, is from the Runaways, is, more or less forgiving Peter about what's happening because she knows that Peter is Spider-Man.
Well, she found out through Harry. She got angry and cold-shouldered Peter for most of this episode and part of, I think, the last episode. Peter's been trying to call her nonstop, but she ain't answering.
Right. But so now they kind of have their peaceful moment to set up, which I think it works.
Yeah.
It works in this aspect because when you go into the finale, you really don't want to have that many moving parts happening.
Right.
You want to tie everything up very nicely.
Right.
They do that. Norman also meets with Peter. He's congratulated for all the hard work.
Yeah.
Because stopping Gargan, that definitely helps.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah. But then this is when the true Norman starts appearing.
Of course.
Because he's now meeting with his inner circle of scientists. And they're all working on some nefarious things. Let's be honest. This is the dark side of Oscorp.
Yep.
And we do know that one of them is working on how to duplicate Spider-Man's powers.
Yep.
Because they now have Peter's blood in their possession.
They do. And this is the point where I went, Ken's not going to like this.
Because this is where
my first thought went, they're going to do Clone Saga.
Yep. That's exactly where I think they're going.
Well, we'll see.
No, I think they're going to, because the one thing that the show has done is they've proved that Oscorp is this think tank.
Sure.
You have all these brilliant scientists. They're all doing different stuff. I am not doubting we have the Jackal appear next season.
See, but the thing is this is where I thought it was going. But then with the next episode, we see that the blood gets injected into the spider that ends up turning Peter into what he is.
See, but
they also could just do the whole thing. Oh, there was blood left over. Blah,
yeah, that's the thing. They telegraphed it too much.
Sure.
So when you see Miles Warren as the Jackal, you're going to go, oh, I know where this is going, and that's going to make me very, very angry because reasons. And we have a whole catalog of episodes. You can hear me exactly vent about that. So we'll just let that go.
Hit him up on social media.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely do that.
Do it at your own risk.
Yeah, like I say, just put them in Thunderbolts. Just sink that battleship already. Just get it over with. I'll be okay with it. But that's how that episode wraps up. And then we now shift into the finale of This Be My Destiny, which, that is a very familiar title, if I'm not mistaken, in my Spider-Man lore. And we do see that Norman is now talking to the secret intern project that's going on.
Yeah.
And he basically spells out...
I've been having you around for a reason.
Yeah, because the reason is Project Monolith. Which I immediately go, oh, that can't be good because the living monolith, if you know your Marvel Comics universe history, that's always a very, very tricky situation. So he's now tampering with gateways into space and multiverse. And, this is what I did not like because this is high risk, high reward.
Sure.
We have now seen with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the general public is not ready for multiverses.
Sure.
Because with the Kang the Conqueror character, and we saw in the movies, it wasn't exactly a home run.
Sure.
Because to pull multiverse off to the pop culture audience, it's tough.
Sure.
And I don't think they were setting that up pretty well. So to try doing it on the small screen, I don't know how this is going to work.
Sure.
But
see, I agree with you, but I don't think that's what this was intended as, and I don't think that's where they're going because the way they presented this, the portal was just a means of travel. Point A, point B. That when the alien comes through, in a couple minutes or a couple scenes, it's not this is from some other dimension. It's just from some other part of the universe.
Right.
And but it's not, at least at this point, because again, we see what happens at the end of this episode with Norman Osborn in this damn thing. Could very well turn into that, but at least for right now, not multiverse.
Right, but the fact that they're tampering around with that enough.
Yeah, they're going to get there.
I just thought it was too soon.
Yeah.
Just thought way too soon. Like, keep this grounded.
Sure.
Because I think that's what wins. Grounded to the point, yeah, the robotics thing with Octavius. I get that.
Sure.
Okay, that's fine. That's not so over the top.
Right.
Time travel, multiverses, that gives me pause. But we do see that one Doctor Strange shows up.
Because he ain't on board with
And
this.
he's like, no, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Norman is like, it's my money, my machine. I don't care what you think.
Peter then recognizes Strange because what happened in the first episode. And hey, this is the guy who showed up and destroyed Midtown High.
Yep.
And that gives Norman all of the clearance he needs to say, oh, why should we listen to you? You destroyed an entire school. And at that point, Strange goes, what are you talking about?
Yep.
He has no idea.
So
that's where I started to pick up like, oh, this isn't the Strange we met.
yeah.
It's a different one.
Right, which is a little confusing, but they do explain it as it goes
They
on.
do.
Because, well, the portal they open to is a symbiote planet.
Uh-huh.
And,
Very Venom looking.
yep.
It's not Venom, but it looks like him.
Well, it's close enough that
Yeah.
we see this one comes through and starts attacking.
And it's the exact same one we saw in the first episode.
Yep. So we now get the backstory of how Doctor Strange was fighting Venom.
Yep. And this then explains why when Strange showed up in episode 1 at Midtown High, he went, uh-oh, we shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then they kind of do a little retcon here where one of the spiders that Oscorp was messing around with,
Yep.
well, goes through the portal.
Yep. And it's already been injected with Peter's blood.
Yeah.
And this is the same spider that ended up bit Peter in episode 1.
Yeah. So
Time travel.
yeah, it's an interesting way to do the origin. I will say that.
Yeah, I was on board with it. I'm like, okay, this is different. I like this.
Well, yeah, like I say, this was a take I thought I was going to be a lot more mad about, but I wasn't.
No.
I was like, okay, you know what? A little messy,
A little convoluted.
but you know what? It's different. But it's not so out of the realm
Right.
that I was like,
Right.
But this one, I was like, okay, let's see how this plays out. So then we kind of do a little jump in here where Strange is now back with our Peter.
They're back in the present time.
Yeah, they're back in the present time after doing the quick getaway to the past.
Yep.
And they do get the alien back to the planet of the symbiotes and destroy the gateway. But one part is left over.
Not before a little bit. It's cut off and while the portal's closing.
Mm-hmm. And then there's one person that finds it.
It's probably the worst person to find it.
Yep, and that's Norman.
Norman.
So this is now going to lead to some questions.
Right. Well, and also, too, we should know that Norman and his company are now disgraced because something like what happened didn't stay secret for very long. The public found out. You know, it was all over the news. You know, he's a disgrace. Harry's getting disgraced online.
Yeah. So you do know that it's a little crazy that's happening.
Desperate man and afraid to do some stuff.
Right. So this kind of plays into the fall from grace from Norman Osborn, which will set him on his course to be the Green Goblin.
Yep.
So I'm not mad about this. I'm not mad at all.
They're working on a lot of projects.
Yeah. So this will be kind of a cool thing that when it plays out, it'll play out. Mm-hmm. So they are setting that up. But all the while, you're now seeing there's more people that are going to be looking for a job.
Yep. Because they ain't doing it through Oscorp anymore.
Right. And then we see that young Harry Osborn has said, well, you know what? I'm going to make my own company.
Well, he gets the idea pitched to him by Nico.
Yeah, because Nico is like their friendship is now.
They're hanging out over at Peter's with Aunt May.
Yeah, deciding what's next because obviously, well, that's happened.
Yep.
And he comes up with an idea to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And he decides to create the Worldwide Engineering Brigade.
Or Web.
Web, which is a little bit familiar.
Mm-hmm.
If you know your Spider-Man lore.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're building this, and now he's contacted the other interns to see what happens. Amadeus Cho is saying no.
Yep. Because he's too busy with the job offer he got to be an engineer at Oscorp.
Yeah, so even though the company's disgraced,
They're still employing him.
yeah, I mean they're
Hey,
still
listen,
they're
the
still
check
in
clears.
business. Yeah, they're still in business. So he's saying, "No, I'm good where I am."
Yep.
But now we have an interesting dynamic that's thrown in because Janine, who was another intern there, who we do know is Finesse,
We find out.
the Taskmaster's daughter,
Yep.
is now going to be getting more involved here.
Yep. Was there undercover at the behest of who?
Daredevil.
Which, okay, made sense.
Yeah, so now that Finesse is Daredevil's sidekick. That is interesting.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
I mean, Daredevil's had a couple sidekicks
Sure.
in the comics. I mean, Blind Spot, I believe, was the last one.
Right.
So seeing Finesse get thrown in, especially with her history, That is very, very intriguing. I will say, because I don't really know where they're going with this idea of Daredevil now infiltrating and trying to make happen. And now, obviously, it's going to be a different story than with Blind Spot. It's, like I say, the most recent one. Because, obviously, if you're watching Daredevil on Disney Plus, you'll have an idea. So we'll just kind of leave it there.
Yeah.
But I think for where they're setting up, that's an interesting mix. And that has my attention because I'm not sure where they're going with it. But it's going to be interesting to see how Webb is now against Oscorp. Yeah. Will this send Harry down his dark path?
Probably.
Yeah, like I say,
eventually.
We're now slowly.
It's going to take whatever happens to his father to happen first, but it'll get there.
Yeah. And then we do finish off with two other key components here. So at the end of this, like we alluded to, Big Donovan ran away from the fight. Lonnie's
running the show.
Has now taken over as the leader of the 110th gang. And you do see there are now spots appearing on him.
Yep.
Certain white spots.
Yep.
Because now he's transforming into the version we know in the comics of Tombstone.
Yep.
It's going to be the slow burn turn.
Yep.
But we are here for it.
Absolutely.
And like I say, how they set it up is like it's nice, it's subtle, it's slowly happening. So, like I say, that eventual showdown that happens is going to be great, which this also serves as a reminder. Don't be friends with Peter Parker. Lonnie was his friend, turned into supervillain.
What happened?
Harry's a friend, he's turned into a supervillain.
He's on his way.
Yep. Yeah, so just stay away from Peter, you'll be fine. But they do finish with quite a very big curveball.
Big mic drop.
Yeah, because Aunt May goes to see somebody
incarcerated,
and we don't really know who it is until
I couldn't figure out who it was.
Well, I thought it was going to be one of two things. I thought it was going to be Uncle Ben.
I did too, because there's been no mention of Uncle Ben this whole series.
Yeah, completely. And I'm like, that would be a ballsy move.
Yeah,
on so many levels. If you make Ben Parker a criminal.
I mean, listen, they make him look like the original Ultimate Ben Parker. That guy looks like he did some time over the years.
Yeah.
Just saying.
If they want to go that route, that's fine. But no, we wind up seeing that May is visiting one Richard Parker.
Peter's father.
Peter's dad.
He ain't dead, folks.
No.
What the shit?
Yeah.
Talk about a mic drop.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's how they leave it. But that's, like I say, that's something the show has done very well this entire season. Planting a lot of Easter eggs. We don't know what's going to really play out and what's not.
Yeah.
But they took a lot of chances really throwing this in the mix. And like I say, with Peter's dad, we do know that him and his mom, Peter's mom, was a spy.
Yep.
For S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
And they were killed in action.
So we could see S.H.I.E.L.D. show up season 2.
Yeah, so that could happen. And then plus who they were also investigating. And like I say, there's a lot of moving parts they can go with. And that'll be really fun to see play out. But I think for the immediate future, you're now seeing Norman Osborn slow build into the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Harry's eventually going to crack under the pressure of Webb. And how the other factors of the interns play out. That's another key point. But then it all resolves back with Tombstone.
Yeah.
You spent too much time on this first season that he has to be the villain. You would think for season 2, and hold off on the Green Goblin, unless they try doing a switch first and go Green Goblin, then Lonnie fully ascends.
Could be
into his evil side.
Depends on how many episodes I want to do.
Right, but I think for overall, they really nailed the landing. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, no, absolutely. This is one that again, you think of some of those animated shoot series I mentioned that they've done over the years. There's such a high bar that even to this day, the Fox Kids one is held in such high regard, and if you grew up even before then, some of the other ones too. And if you're a little younger, some of the ones you've seen are held up in high regards too. So anytime you do an animated Spider-Man series, there is a high bar you have to clear. And I was a little skeptical. The animation style threw me at first. I was sitting there going, you know what? It's not what I would expect for nowadays, but I'm going to give it a chance. Saw the trailer. The trailers look good. But again, as we know from various things, what you see in the trailer and what you get in the end isn't always the same result. It's not always the same. You don't always get your expectations met. And this met and exceeded all of my expectations. And right now, easy top 3 Spider-Man animated series I've seen ever.
I will say they really nailed the key points of Spider-Man. And anytime you do a show with an iconic character that's been around as long as Spider-Man has been, you have to nail those key points. You have to do this with Superman. You have to do this with Batman, Wonder Woman, the Avengers, X, Y, and Z. Like, you have to do this. Otherwise, you miss the point. When you try making characters too edgy and really flip the dynamic so much that it alienates the audience, you're missing the whole point. What they did here, they really nailed it. They gave it a cool modern twist. I loved kind of the retro vibe to it, but it was also very grounded, and I think that the more they stay grounded, the better. The finale, like I said, I think they took a lot of chances teasing the multiverse and all that. It doesn't take away from the episodes, but I think if you're trying to set up a lot for the future, I would have stayed away from this. I think that that's the only fault I have. Even though I like how they did the origin.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but you've now teased that door that eventually you're going to have Venom now show up. And if Venom is now Norman, that's another wild dynamic.
Boy. You kind of saw it in the, spoiler alert, but you kind of saw it in the Spider-Man 2 video game.
Oh, yeah. No.
Venom wasn't Eddie Brock. Venom was Harry.
Yeah. So there is that possibility. And if they want to go that route, I mean, that's par for the course for the show.
Sure.
It'll just be fun to see when they come back how Peter's life has changed now that him and Norman are alienated a little bit.
What if Norman is Venom and Harry ends up being Carnage?
That's another possibility.
Oh, I just thought of that.
That's another possibility. I mean, you have to think about, too, with Nico. We didn't even talk about that. Her amulet that we know from other ways.
Yeah, that she was doing the weird summon, weird ritual.
Yeah. That's now activated, too. So, like I say, all the main characters are now elevating themselves a little bit. Then when we see them in Season 2, it's going to be something completely different. But as long as they stay par for the course of the essence of Spider-Man, this show will be just fine, folks. And it's definitely worth the watch on Disney+. So make sure to hammer it out if you haven't already, because I know there's been a lot of stuff going on media-wise.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you don't miss what's happening here. So hit us up on that hashtag ODPH Pod. What is your thoughts about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus from Marvel Animation? Give us your thoughts about the season finale and where you think we're going for Season 2. We definitely want to talk about it. But first, we're going to get a quick breakout. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. Got to mention the local minute and look at the standings for the Federal Prospects Hockey League. That is the league our local Binghamton Black Bears play in. And looking at the standings, they're currently in first place at the Empire Division through 41 games played. They have a record of 31 wins, 4 losses, 1 loss in overtime, and then they've got 3 overtime wins and 2 shootout wins. All this means they are in first place with 104 points. They have clinched a playoff spot. Of course, they are the reigning, defending, undisputed champions from last year in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. So they got to defend the chip. Second place in their division is Danbury, who has 71 points. Third place is Watertown, who has 66 points. Fourth is Port Huron, who has 61 points. Fifth is Fraser, who has 37 points. Sixth is Poughkeepsie, who has 27 points. And seventh is Danville, who has 6 points. So looking at their schedule from this past week, had 2 games. They had the game on Friday that was at home against the Fraser Motor City Rockers. They won that game by the final score of 5-2. Then they came back on Saturday, again, home game against the Motor City Rockers, won that game 7-3. Got a couple more games this weekend, first of which is Friday, February 28th, 7 o'clock Eastern, at home against the Danville Dashers. Then you've got a game on Saturday, March 1st, 7 o'clock Eastern, again against the Danville Dashers. Couple of promos going on this weekend. So this upcoming Friday is Girl Scout night, and then Saturday is a green out. So if you're a fan of the team and you show up anything other than green, shame on you. More tickets, information, all that good stuff, BinghamtonBlackBears.com.
Let's go.
And we got to talk some entertainment news. And we did get a trailer for a series returning to Disney Plus on April 22nd. Highly anticipated series. It's a series that, again, this is the first trailer we've had, and it's coming out in less than a month. A little shocking. But that is the trailer for season 2 of Andor. And I've got to say, trailer looks good. Well, I'm real interested to see where this goes. Of course, if you've seen Rogue One, you know where this is going to end up. You know, because it was announced before Andor season 1 came out. They're only doing 2 seasons. Second season is going to lead into Rogue One, so wouldn't be surprised if we see what Cassian Andor was doing in the opening moments of the Rogue One film. Because remember, we don't see Cassian Andor in that film for the first, half hour or so.
Give take, yeah.
Give or take. So I wouldn't be surprised if the end of this second season is like the first half hour of that show or movie, I should say. And it's what Cassie was doing that whole time.
I mean, trailer looks great.
Trailer looked good.
Like the music for it.
Yeah, don't like the release schedule because
Yeah, our breakdowns are going to be kind of interesting with this.
yeah, so it's a 12 episode
Yeah, I don't know about this.
12 episode season. They're releasing 3 episodes every week.
Yeah.
So the season's going to be over in a month.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
I'm kind of curious why they're rushing it so much.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Like, I understand what they're trying to do because they did say it was going to be depicting years.
Yeah, because it's going to flash forward, or move forward every couple of years until it gets right to where Rogue One takes place, but we'll see.
Still, though.
I got a hunch and I got an early speculation on where one of the places we will see, probably towards the later end of the season. There is a moment in the trailer, and I'm going off the Star Wars YouTube page for timing. So this is the one that's 1:35. So right at about 39 seconds, you see a person dead, obviously lying on the ground as a couple X-Wings, and then another ship of some sort, I don't know what it is, take off from a planet. Clearly, we know X-Wings, they're part of the Rebel Alliance. I can tell you with certain confidence in the background, that ain't Yavin. Yavin, for those of you who don't know, was filmed in South America. That's not South America. Got a hunch I know where this is or where we will be seeing for the first time in live action. I know it's been shown in video games and whatever. First time live action. We're going to Dantooine. Of course, if you don't remember or don't know what I'm talking about, there was a scene in the original Star Wars, A New Hope, where after Leia gets captured, they're trying to figure out where the rebel base is, and in an effort to prevent them from destroying Alderaan, she says, "Oh, the rebel base is on Dantooine."
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right, great, blow it up anyway." That whole scene plays out. "Oh, why would you do this?" Blah blah blah. And then a couple scenes later, some Imperial officer, whoever it is, comes in and says, "Hey, our guys just got back from Dantooine. It looks like it's been deserted for some time. We're conducting a sweep of the nearby systems." I think this might be, and what we see in the trailer is set evacuation of Dantooine.
That's a plausible theory, Pat.
Sure.
I really like that one a lot. I mean, the show we know has got a lot of hype behind it. I'm just hoping.
Yeah.
My only big fear is the biggest gripe that you and I both had about season 1.
Slow burn.
Slow start.
Which I got to rewatch and see if I still feel the same. At the time, though, was not a fan of the slow burn.
Right. So the fact that they're hitting the gas pedal so much that you're sitting there going like, okay, are you going to have enough time to build stuff, or
What's the rush?
Yeah, you're just rushing it through. So
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait to see about this though.
Yep. Then we got to get to some unfortunate news, and that is more fun and games from the folks over at Warner Bros.
Oh,
Yeah.
This.
So this came out yesterday as we record, and that for more cutbacks from the wonderful folks over at Warner Brothers Discovery, and that is they're pulling the plug on the Wonder Woman title that had been in development for, and this is according to the article from Variety.com, had been in development for more than 3 years. And it was in the works from the folks over at Monolith Productions, which is one of the studios being shut down, along with Player First Games and Warner Brothers Games San Diego. So if for those of you who don't know, Monolith Productions are the folks that most notably worked on the Middle-earth Shadows of Mordor and Shadows of War video games for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Fantastic games if you haven't played them before. Now might be your chance because, hey, it'll be dirt cheap. But they came up with this really interesting system called the Nemesis system, where basically you'd go through the game in Middle-earth, you'd kill an orc, and then there was a possibility, like let's just say you scare them off, because there was a mechanic in the game where you could scare them and they'd run away. Well, they would come back a little bit stronger, not prone to being scared anymore, and they'd have it out for you. They'd want vengeance on you.
Yeah.
So it's a really ingenious system. You can look up videos on how it works online. If you went about things the wrong way, it could turn them into an overpowered nightmare that you couldn't beat in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, so they've had that. They only used it for those 2 games. Nobody else can use it because, well, they copyrighted the damn thing, or trademarked, whatever they did with it, and it's under lock and key with the folks over at Warner Brothers for like the next 10 years. So good luck seeing that anywhere else.
Yeah.
The folks over at Player First Games didn't work on a whole lot. They most notably were the developer of the free-to-play platform game Multiverses.
I played that. I actually like that one.
Yeah, so that one will probably be getting sunsetted. And I tried doing some research on who exactly WB Warner Brothers Games San Diego is, but I couldn't find anything on like what they might have worked on. So it might just be one of those smaller studios that assists, the bigger studios and working on some stuff, assets, in-game stuff. But unfortunate news for those folks, and the fact that the Wonder Woman game has been canceled.
Very disappointed in this news.
Yeah.
Very. But,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like, it's something I think we knew was coming.
Yeah.
Just had a kind of weird sense about it, but.
Yeah. Then some more video game news and some very good news if you're a PlayStation Plus player. And this is for anybody. The March monthly games have been released, and it's actually a very good month release schedule this month. So the three games, the first one for PS5, Dragon Age, The Veilguard, which... Interesting that it came out like 4 months ago, but hey, it's already going to be free to play on the PlayStation Plus if you have the Essential, Extra, or Premium level. The other game, this is a PS4 title, but again, you can play it on the PS5. Sonic Colors. So that one looks interesting. Sonic Colors Ultimate, excuse me. So that one out, but the one I'm more excited to play. PS4 and PS5. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. This one has, according to the Wikipedia article for said game, the game came out back on August 30th of 2022 for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games on this from various systems as the NES, Arcade, Game Boy, SNES, Sega Genesis, included among those Turtles in Time, most notably.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can't go wrong with that.
Hello, but yeah, so you've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the NES game. Also, the arcade version is in here. You got Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game from the NES. You've got the Game Boy game, Fall of the Foot Clan, the arcade version of Turtles in Time, the Game Boy Back from the Sewers, the NES game, the Manhattan Project, Turtles in Time from the SNES, Hyperstorm Heist from Sega Genesis, Radical Rescue from the Game Boy, and then you got the SNES and Genesis version of Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, along with the NES version. So, hey, listen, there's 11 games for free if you have PlayStation Plus, so you cannot go wrong with that. Then we get some exciting news. And folks, if you want to know where I'll be on April 25th, I'll be in my local theater because for its 20th anniversary, yes, folks, the movie is turning 20 years old this month, Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is returning to theaters. We got a wonderful poster released, which I got to say, I don't know if you saw the poster. Poster looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. Listen, I remember seeing Revenge of the Sith when it came out in theaters 20 years ago. Thrilled me then. Will thrill me again. I just imagine it's going to be a lot of people talking in the middle of the movie because, well, there's a lot of quotable lines in that movie. A lot of memes came out of that movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hello there, General Kenobi.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a few. So, but yeah, hey, Revenge of the Sith coming back to theaters for its 20th anniversary.
Kind of a big deal, I would say. I mean, Sith is probably my favorite of the first three.
The opening sequence alone.
The opening sequence is good. I like the ending. Like I say, because I think they got the point across of how far Anakin had fallen, and that's one thing you need to do, especially in this third one. So they didn't sugarcoat anything.
No, and if anyone from Lucasfilm is listening, hi, love your films.
Yeah.
I have heard tell that at one point during this film's production there was a 4-hour cut of this movie, and that the opening battle sequence above Coruscant was an hour. If that exists in any way, shape, or form, I'd love to see it, please. Just throwing that out there. And then got some unfortunate news passed along because we did lose 2 Hollywood icons and actresses this past week. The first of which was announced today, and that was from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Gossip Girl, Harriet the Spy, a whole bunch of other stuff. Michelle Trachtenberg passed away at the age of 39. So according to an article on NBCnews.com, police responded to a 911 call shortly after 9 a.m. Where officers, quote, observed a 39-year-old female unconscious and unresponsive, according to an NYPD statement. And she was pronounced dead at the scene. So this was one that I didn't recognize the name immediately, but I saw the face and I'm like, there's something familiar about her. I couldn't put my name on it. And then I started looking up the IMDb, saw Harriet the Spy, and I was like, oh, that's what I knew her from. She was also Penny in the live action Inspector Gadget film, which I'm like, oh, okay. So I knew that. For fantastic actress and will definitely and absolutely be missed and gone way too soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Way too soon. I always remember her from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, it's just Terrible loss, and obviously our condolences out to her family, friends, and fans all over the world.
Yeah. And then the other one who passed away this past week was Lynn Marie Stewart, who you might know from on-screen and productions Pee-wee's Playhouse. And more notably and more recently, it was Charlie Day's mother on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She passed away at the age of 78 after a quick illness, according to a spokesperson who told CBS News on Saturday. She was born in 1946 in Los Angeles, California. And again, she's most known to a lot of folks on the Pee Wee Herman Show, and was on the Pee-wee Playhouse, of course, which ran from 1986 to 1991. More folks, I think, nowadays know her as Charlie's mom on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I know Charlie Day put out a wonderful post about her on Instagram, and so did Rob McElhenney. So I know they're in the midst of filming the most recent season if they're not done already. So I wouldn't expect to see anything about it this season, maybe then in memory of, but fully anticipate them to tastefully, because I know the show is crass. I know it's, adult humor and whatever, but I definitely am interested to see how they handle this, for the following season, because they don't show any signs of slowing that show down anytime soon. But she was an absolutely wonderful actress, and just one that I didn't know who she was because I didn't grow up watching, the Pee Wee Herman Show or Pee Wee's Playhouse, but became an actress that anytime I got to see her on It's Always Sunny, I knew it was going to be a good episode.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like I say, our condolences out to her family, friends, and fans all over, man. Just terrible tragedies.
Yeah.
Man. Just terrible tragedies.
Yeah, and then I got one more thing, recommendation for you folks this week. Decided to check out the new Netflix series 0 Day with my wife. Watched a couple episodes. Now, this is the series. It's got Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro's in it, Jesse Plemons, just to name a few. Angela Bassett's in it as well. Watched the first 2 episodes. It's not bad. There's a little bit of intrigue, a little bit of mystery of what the heck is going on here, and certainly hits the ground running very quickly. They don't waste any time in building this up. They just, boom, get going. Definitely give it a recommend and check it out, though. I'm liking the first 2 episodes. It's a 6-episode limited series, so it won't take you very long to get through.
It's De Niro.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with
I mean, like I say,
it's De Niro playing a former president from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you can't go wrong with De Niro.
No, you definitely can't. So we alluded to last week, Comics Pro 2025 was taken on this past weekend. So a lot of news was breaking out of that. If anybody's not familiar, it is a big conference that you have publishers or meeting with retailers, and a lot of news does break out. And it's one that we had a couple tidbits come down. Oni Press really had a big weekend there. They were talking about Out of Alcatraz and Blood Type. So there's a lot of cool things happening with them. So there is, like I say, we do cover them on Nerd Initiative. They do put out a lot of great stuff, so you definitely want to check out what's happening there as more stuff is being announced. From the Marvel side of things, I know it was announced, but we don't really have a lot of details yet. We're playing ball with DC.
Hey.
So there's possibility we might see a crossover appear at some point. So there's a lot of moving parts that have to happen first, but I think just the fact that it was teased excited the fan base enough because it's been about damn time.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I've been waiting to see about something happening here with that. Also, Marvel had a lot of announcements concerning Bring On the Bad Guys. So this is reading the press release that came to us via Marvel. Bring On the Bad Guys is a 7-part event celebrating the nearly 50-year legacy of the groundbreaking Bring On the Bad Guys trade paperback. Pioneering how comics were collected, the original series collected key early stories of Marvel's most iconic supervillains. The upcoming new Bring On the Bad Guys delivers a blood-pounding experience across seven one-shots starring those same infamous characters, Doctor Doom, Green Goblin, Abomination, Loki, Red Skull, Dormammu, and Mephisto. So how this is going to play out, I don't know, but I do
tell you right now, Mark Guggenheim is writing the Doctor Doom one.
Yep.
Oh shit.
That's going to be a fun one. Yeah, he's going to be in that. So this is all slated to come out starting in June. June 5th is when Bring On the Bad Guys Doom is coming out. Mm-hmm. And then July is Green Goblin, Abomination, Loki, and August is Red Skull, Dormammu, and Mephisto. So definitely something to keep an eye out
Stefano
for.
Raphael is doing the artwork.
Yeah. They're putting a lot of top level talent.
I'm looking at the Marvel.com article. You can't go wrong with this. Look at this cover.
The cover's classic.
Covers so good.
Yeah, like I say, that is one that definitely caught my attention. Another one that I know Pat and I are super excited for is there's going to be a little changing of the guard involving Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Chip Zdarsky is going to be taking over with Valero Shaiti with a brand new Cap series kicking off in July. Cover looks fantastic.
I got high expectations.
I'm all in for this.
Chip does a lot of good work.
Chip is amazing about it. And like I say, I am super excited to see Shaiti, which I apologize if I'm saying the name wrong, is a great artist too. So like this is nothing but a big bucket of win, and especially the take that they're teasing about. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I say, anytime you get and Chip knows how to do Cap very well. So
this is true.
I'm excited to see that. And then the other one that really stood out to me is Ghost Machine.
Oh.
So they've announced a couple new titles are coming out. So definitely excited about that. Sisterhood is going to be one that happens. So it's going to be stemming from the pages of Hyde Street. That's their horror series that is going to be coming out. So I'm excited to see how that plays. And we also got wind of the first Ghost story that's coming. So that is Brad Meltzer, Jeff Johns, and Gene Ha. So that is going to be, that's part of the unnamed portion of their universe coming out. So that is going to be something very, very fun to check out. And then, I mean, like I said, Ghost Machine does big time work anyway, no matter what. So I'm excited to see how this all really plays out for them. And we'll have to see how it goes with the newest edition for Sisterhood, which is High Street Story, which that, like I say, doing big things over there at Ghost Machine. Lila Lies is doing the art with Mantel Zilch, writing the book too for the limited series for that. So definitely a lot of news breaking out for that, and we're keeping our tabs out for a lot of stuff going on. But it's just very cool to see the connection with the retailers and the publishers. And this was just one that I think every news story I read, everybody's excited to talk.
Oh, as they should be.
Yeah, like I said, this one that, you know, when you have meetings like this, it's not doom and gloom, so to speak.
Right.
There was just a lot of positive vibes coming out of this, no matter where you turn. So I'm excited to see where they're going with this. That being said, though, we are talking comics. Pat, what you picking up this week?
I got the two I'm recommending for both are Spider-Man and from Marvel. The first of which is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 68. Point Deaths, however you want to say that. It's from Christos Gage, and Mark Buckingham is the artist. Christos Gage, probably most well known if you look him up on IMDb, wrote a number of episodes on the original run of Daredevil on Netflix.
Okay.
Good issue this week, although if you're going in wanting a story centered around Spider-Man, temper your expectations because, no joke, Spider-Man, it doesn't show up until like the last panel. This issue, though, is all about what's going on while the previous issue is taking place. So that's with Juggernaut taking on the various X-Men that are there. So you've got Kid Omega is there. Cyclops is there along with Magic. And a whole bunch
It's the Alaska team.
Yeah, so you got a whole bunch of stuff going on there. I feel like they're setting up some other stuff for other stories going on, so we'll see what happens there. It's a good issue, though. It's a good companion piece if you read issue 68. The other issue, though, and this is the issue that if it ain't in your pull list, you need to go get it now. Because
Marvel's best book, let's be honest.
Best book, Ultimate Spider-Man, issue number 14. Jonathan Hickman is, of course, the author on this. This one reads, Spider-Man versus Kraven. After the horrors Peter and Harry endured during Kraven's hunt in the last issue, Spider-Man and Green Goblin turn the hunter into the hunted. But are they still prey in someone else's game? I don't want to say too much about this issue because you need to read this for yourself, but this issue is a monumental one. It is kind of a tone shift and a direction shift, which the way the story is going. I did not see this coming in any way, shape, or form. You can go back to some of my prior reviews on Nerd Initiative. On a couple of them, I kind of gave some ideas of where I thought it was going to go. It took a left turn at Albuquerque and did not go those ways. Will this stay permanent? Maybe, maybe not. You know, we'll see what happens. But phenomenal issue, and you need to add this to your pull list ASAP.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely Marvel's best book. I think it goes without question. I mean, there's a lot of great books Marvel does, but that one heads and toes above a lot of, basically a lot of books in general out right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a long list, but I will hammer this out, though. First and foremost, the Massive Verse is back Radiant Black 31 is on the shelves. Finally, the fallout from the Catalyst War is in full swing. Marshall Ward is now Radiant Black, and the fallout is definitely impacting him in more ways than one. Great issue. Like I said, what Kyle Higgins and the rest of the team is doing over there. Great. And if you even want to find out about more, he was on Turn a Page this past week. Fantastic interview. If I do say so myself, but we've been getting messaged left and right about it. So, and everybody's been very positive for it. So, Kyle will be back on sooner than 2 years, though. I did not realize this. The last time that we had him on the show was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because I could have swore we had him on last year.
No.
A little peek behind the curtain. We always usually have the Massiverse team on the ODPH to talk. We've been very fortunate that they've been very good about it. But Kyle brought that up, and I'm like, oh, my God, it's been 2 years.
Yeah. No, that sounds about right. I don't know exact dates off the top of my head, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, so rest assured, he will be back on soon. I don't know when, but
such a reminder for 2027.
Yeah, no, I've already put in the calendar now, so I got to message him about that. So, but I know we're having Ryan Parrott and Matt Groom on at some point this year as well, separately. They will not be on the same interview, but peek behind the curtain, they are going to be swinging through. It's just a matter of lining up schedules right now. But you should be picking up Radiant Black 31. It's fantastic, though. Going to Marvel for a quick sec. So, J. Michael Straczynski has been doing this series of one-shots.
Okay.
And he's really more or less been given the playbook. What he wants to borrow. So, he did this Doctor Doom versus Rocket Raccoon one.
Interesting.
Shot there.
Yeah.
He's back now this week with Captain America and Volstagg.
That's not a pair I would normally think of.
Yeah, from the Warriors 3 of Thor lore.
Right.
With Bernard Chang on the artwork. I'm showing Pat the cover. I mean,
I like the cover.
The cover is very cool. Terry Dodson on the art. But yeah, it's this cool like one shot stories that he's doing, and you can tell he's having fun with it.
Straczynski does great work.
Yeah. So the fact that like this pairing works and the story is great, I don't want to spoil anything. If you're looking for a real fun story, like this is up your alley. This is gonna be something really cool. So go check it out. And like I say, if you picked up Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon, let me know what you think of that one too. Because like I say, I know we reviewed that at Nerd Initiative. I know Matt did from Hopskeeks News. So definitely like to hear what everyone's vibe is about this kind of one-shot stuff. I like this. I think it's just very cool stuff. IDW Publishing, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #7. The re-up they've done over there at IDW has been truly, truly very cool stuff. Jason Aaron, Juan Ferreira. The Turtles are back in New York City, and it's not a very warm welcome.
Oh, boy.
A lot of stuff is hitting the fan. I'm really loving the more harder tone to this book that's going on, and it's a wild issue, but it's great. I really dug it a lot. You want to talk about wild issues? Mad Cave Studios.
Okay.
Pop Kill, #1. Now, Pat, I'm showing you the cover right now. We're getting the live reaction.
Different.
What does this remind you of?
I don't know.
James Bond?
Oh, yeah, okay. Now that you say that, a little bit.
So, Jimmy Palmiotti and Dave Johnson are the writers. Juan Santa Cruz is the artist. And this is a story about former Siamese twins.
Okay.
They both run different soda companies. One is Fizz One, the other is Popso. They are trying to take each other out by any means necessary.
Sounds like life imitates art.
There's assassins, there's espionage, it's wild. If you really want a very cool story, I recommend picking this up. It's if you're like James Bond, but flipped 180, and like I say, they're all fighting over the cola game.
So it sounds like a book you might see at like your local bookstore. It's like Coke and Pepsi, the unauthorized story.
Yeah, it's dope though.
That's awesome.
I dug it. It's fun. Like that's the one thing about it. Like I picked it up, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is crazy, but it's fun. So that's from Mad Cave Studios. Man, a loaded lineup from DC Comics this week. Superman #23, Joshua Williamson, Dan Mora.
Sold.
Your mind's going to get blown when you read like the final pages. Something happens big time in here. And it's basically, if you've been following Doomsday as the time trapper, and he's given Superman a proposal, and Superman was not exactly too warm and friendly to it.
Oh, of course.
It's now been thrown to Lois Lane, who is Superwoman.
Oh, jeez.
Choices are made. Consequences are deadly. All I'm going to say with it. So I really love this issue. This was a phenomenal read. Over, though, on the larger scale of DC All-In is Justice League Unlimited, and this is, once again, Mark Waid, Dan Mora. Dan, I don't know how Dan Morris sleeps. He's got like my schedule. Like we just don't sleep.
That doesn't surprise me.
So this is now issue 4 of the Inferno takeover that's going on. This very mysterious group is now taking on the entire DCU and handling them. Wild issue, really cool stuff going on here. Next one, I think they're going to finally do the reveal of who's behind here. But let's just say this. I mean, if you're going to do Justice League, Mark Waid, you can't get better, in my opinion, for a writer of this. Swinging for the fences. It's a very, very cool story. And I mean, it's Dan Moore art. Like, I don't even think I need to oversell that. So I'm not. It's just Dan Moore. You go buy it.
Yep.
Green Lantern number 20 is out too. Jeremy Adams, Jack Herbert is on the art for this one. And this is like a tale of two different stories. Obviously, the Fractured Spectrum storyline is going on. So Hal Jordan is doing a little investigating. He has his own story. There is one portion of this book, though, that is, I immediately read this and I was like, this is Padawan J.
Yeah.
This is all written over it. So Kyle Rayner, Connor Kent, and another character are investigating the Source Wall.
It's an interesting pairing.
Yeah, so the Source Wall is, they're on a mission because obviously everything's involving sorrow and what's going on there.
Okay.
And at one point, I mean, the book is out, so I guess I could say it.
Yeah.
They pay a little homage to a certain adventurer that is a professor that's named after a state.
Ooh, Dr. Jones.
Yes.
Indiana Jones. All right.
There's a cool moment.
I'm on board.
I don't want to spoil it.
It belongs in a museum.
But you're going to see it if you pick up this book. And it's Jeremy Adams, and he's, like I say, he's great. Just re-upped at DC for an exclusive contract, too.
Oh,
So
nice.
Congratulations for him. So that is one you want to check. But, Pat, I want you to pick up that issue, and you give me your feedback.
Okay.
Like I say, there's just a couple scenes that are like, oh, this is Pat. Black Canary, the best of the best, number 4. Tom King, Ryan Sook. This is kind of a very interesting storyline they have set up. It's Black Canary versus Lady Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally them fighting in a ring for who's best of the best. Pay-per-view event. This one, though, focuses on the early stages of Dinah and one Oliver Queen's romance.
Oh.
And how it started and like how it goes there. It's fueled in with the fight that's going on, too. So it does all tie together. It's a very cool issue. And like I say, this series, I think, is getting slept on a little bit. Like we talked to Tom and Ryan at Nerd Initiative. It's been a very cool story that I think deserves a lot more hype behind it. Like I think more fans need to know about it. So I'm definitely giving a recommendation this week. I'd say it is not faulted on me at all. Okay, Absolute Wonder Woman, number 5. Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman. There's a lot going on with this.
Oh, yeah?
There's a lot. It's a very cool end of the first arc, I will say. And if you really want to know the differences between the Dinah we know from the DC universe and the Absolute one, they do a lot of explaining here. And the method of how Dinah takes care of the threat to Gateway City, whoa, this is creative. It's cool. It's very different. And I was all on board with it. I'm like, this series has definitely got a lot of hype and well-deserved. It's very, very good. Last but certainly not least, Detective Comics 1090, Tom Taylor, Michael Janin. And this is more of the story of Isma and how Batman is trying to investigate the murders of wayward teens. It's a cool story, albeit, though, I mean, he's doing a lot of detective work, no pun intended, because it is the book. It's involving Damian Wayne. And Damian Wayne does Damian Wayne things.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just going to say, like, we get a little clarification on a few things. And, yeah, this book definitely ends on a very cool cliffhanger moment.
Damian Wayne, not often known for winning Best Son awards.
Well, let's just say he does the right thing, but it's the wrong time to do it.
That sounds like him.
I'll leave it at that. But if you want to find about more comic picks this week, Nerd Initiative has you covered. 40 reviews on the site, I believe, when it was all said and done this week. So
sheesh.
If you need picks, we got them. And nobody does New Comic Book Day quite like Nerd Initiative. That being said, that's it for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
10 years ago today, the internet argued about what color the dress is. And now you feel as old as I did when I saw that.
I'm your host, Ken M. Rest in peace, Ross. We'll miss you, buddy. Thank you for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.